So I feel like I've talked about the Hawks quite a bit this year, but they're kind of interesting. I mean, when you've got Trae Young playing as well as he has, and young dudes who are, sometimes look better than other days, and the John Collins thing and the Capella trade, they've managed to be very interesting while also only winning 20 games. Can they get into the playoffs next year? Trae Young and this group of dudes. I mean, it is the Eastern Conference, so there's a chance that 37 wins might be enough to get there. And, I mean, it's the Magic right now in the 8th seed. We assume, looking at the teams that did not make the playoffs this year, granted this is a little tricky because we don't know what the offseason entails for moves the teams make and stuff, but if we can assume that the only other teams that did not make the playoffs in the East that would be in contention would be like the Wizards and the Bulls. The Bulls just off of hoping that Markkanen gets back to it and they're healthy, and with the Wizards, I mean, John Wall and Beal by themselves, they can get to the 8th seed potentially, right? So, okay, there would be some competition with Orlando and whoever else, but I don't think it'd be that insane of a task to get to the 8th or 7th or whatever spot in the East for Atlanta, right? So, I guess the big question is, are these young dudes just going to be ready to go next season? Between Cam and DeAndre and Herter and, well, mainly those three pretty much. I don't know. I mean, Cam Reddish has had an interesting year. He went from being bad to okay by rookie standards, I guess. I guess part of it is just reading the game a little bit better, and he does have some potential off the dribble to do stuff. I guess, what would be the hope next year for Cam Reddish as a stat line? Would it be like an efficient 13 points a game, making threes and just doing enough as a ball handler? I guess that could be enough. With DeAndre Hunter, it's more of like a two-way guy who doesn't do as much off the dribble, even if he has shown a little bit of that this season. And then with Herter, it's a dude who can just make shots, pretty much. But is it too much to ask of those guys to just be ready to go next season? Well, to be fair, they would be playing off of John Collins more. I mean, Collins only managed how many games this year? Well, he still got to 41. So he did eventually log a half a year. And their record with him was 15-26. Their record without him was 5-21. So, I mean, there you go. So in that sense, if those guys don't have to do as much, then that's great. I know Trae Young can handle it, of course, but they really needed Collins. Now, of course, they've got a lot of money to play with in free agency, and I feel like the only dude that they would re-sign is probably Jeff Teague to a lot less money than he's making right now. He's making like $19 million. I mean, I don't know. Would Teague be kind of like their JJ Redick, where they keep signing him to short contracts, but it's more money than we all think Teague is worth? I feel like at this point Jeff Teague is like a $9 million player or so, but maybe he would get 15 for 1 year from the Hawks, if anything, because they just need to fill out their cap space. I mean, they're at $60 million right now, and if you add in a draft pick, 66 or so, I guess. So they actually would have a lot of money to do stuff. And, I mean, I've addressed this before, whether it's them targeting guys who can just make shots like Gallo or Evan Fournier or Davis Bertans or Joe Harris, or maybe they would go with some more proven vets of like Serge Ibaka if the Raptors were going to move on from him, or Millsap if the Nuggets were going to let him go. I don't really think either one of those things could happen, but you never really know with this stuff. It would just be interesting to see the path they would go with that type of thing, Perhaps someone like Marcus Morris if you want to go with a cheaper option. I don't think Brandon Ingram's in the question. The Pelicans are going to match any offer he gets. He's going to end up with a max. And before I actually get to the draft pick, we should talk about Capella a bit more. And I don't want to repeat just everything I was saying in that video when they traded for him, but, they've needed help on the boards and rim protection and all that. John Collins is just more of a power forward than a center. It is what it is. And they're hoping Capella can be that guy. The fear is that Collins doesn't want to chill on the wing when it's Trae Young and Clint Capella pick and rolls all day. And I guess the opposite is if you're doing Trae Young and John Collins pick and rolls, is Capella not going to kill the spacing there? Like, there is a world in which the offense doesn't totally work with those two. But for one, the offensive rebounding should be great. And Collins is a versatile offensive player. And also, they're so athletic, you know? I feel like the athleticism would make up for a bit of the potential awkwardness on offense. Hopefully. And depending on how good of a passer John Collins is, like if they trap Trae, then Collins can go on the roll and then lob it up to Capella a bit. There's potential there. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see it because Capella was hurt for the stretch of games that they had after the deadline. Now if we go to the draft pick, again, it is tough because, as I say every time, the lottery is random as hell, and the draft conversations for teams will be more interesting once we actually know who is picking where. But until then, we can at least speculate. I mean, you know, to me, it's wing players for this team, you know? Do they believe LaMelo can be a wing player? I mean, I've already said it. I think him and Trae could be interesting if LaMelo is all in on playing defense, and up to this point, he has not been. So are you going to pick him hoping that he'll just get good defensively? That's a bit of a roll of the dice, you know? Because if he's not going to bring it on defense and you already got Trae Young, then you're going to be giving up a lot of points, you know what I mean? Capella's good on defense, but I don't think he's that good. So maybe you're looking at Anthony Edwards, who I think can be a good defensive wing because he's just a brick wall. I don't know if Toppin would fit. I mean, I guess it depends if you'd be content with putting him at the 3. Because if you were, and he could be a versatile defender, because he's 6'9", he's very athletic, then that could be really interesting, because then you'd be really setting yourself up for the versatile defense that you need around Trae Young, you know? But there are some fears with his offense, you know, can he play off ball besides just finishing dunks and stuff? That's another thing. If you selected him, it's alley-oops everywhere, you know what I mean? Between Capella, Collins, and then Toppin, so that would be kind of fun if they went with him. I have to assume they would not select Wiseman because of the Capella trade, and then I don't think Cole Anthony's going to happen or anything. Okongwu is more of a roller. I don't really think they're looking for that. There's also the kid out of Israel who I've got to look up a little bit more. I guess the best case scenario for the Hawks is, Herter, Cam, and Hunter just make a jump in their own various ways of how they project to be players. And then Capella and Collins fit. Trae Young keeps being awesome. And then they probably get like one $20 million free agent, whether it's a shot maker or something like that. And then the pick is good as well. Now, do we expect all those things to happen? No, not really. It rarely does everything go well for an NBA team in an offseason. And even when it does, sometimes we go into the next year and it's like, oh, this actually isn't as good as we thought it'd be. So, we'll see. But, yeah, I think they can definitely compete for the Eastern Conference playoffs next year. Of course, there's a chance crazy things happen, but assuming the NBA doesn't get turned upside down by some transactions over the offseason, then yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if the Hawks were pushing, high 30s, potentially low 40s in wins next year. I mean, it's going to be year 3 for Trae Young, and the dude is ready for the moment, if you ask me. So, yeah. Now, one other thing I do want to point out, I know we're like 10 minutes in, is Lloyd Pierce the coach for this team? That'll be interesting as well. Do they want to really give him the chance to win with these guys, or are they going to see some better option out there? Don't know.